Welcome, friends, to what I can already tell, if the green room is any indication. I think this is going to be a fun one. I promise that if I do think it's not going to be, I won't mention that I think it's going to be a fun one, because some people have reached out to me and said, well, you say all of them are fun. I'm like, just wait. There'll be ones where I just go, hi, let's get to it. That'll be the tell, right? So my mom said, don't say mean stuff. But this
Future
one,
guests are going to be like, oh, Omar is not going to enjoy this conversation.
yep. But I'm excited for this one. We have an amazing guest who I've been a fan of and a lurker on his content for a long time. Try to engage every now and again, but it's fun to watch him do his thing. But to start off, so we can get there, joined as always by Alyson Laterman. Alyson.
Yeah, I was like, there's only so many times you can say, yeah, that on a post on LinkedIn.
Right. They don't let you
get
like
to
it twice, right? They
Yeah.
don't let you, not like Slack where you can do like multiple
Yeah,
reaction.
no, you get one emoji, man. Pick it carefully, and it's a very limited choice at best. So, Alyson Laterman, and I am happy to be here today with Omar and Joshua Copeland. And our normal disclaimer: though I'm an attorney and these gentlemen are cybersecurity experts, we are not your attorney or cybersecurity experts for the purpose of the podcast. So we tell you that because we are not here giving you official advice, because we don't know you, we don't know your business or your situation. But we don't know your business, but
Sounded like 50 Cent there for a second. I'm not, but that's great.
50 cents in Shreveport, so, I'm here for it.
Hey,
it's very true.
See, Omar did not lie about where this is going today. But we are going to share with you our experiences, our well-worn knowledge, and hope that that will help you lead to asking the right questions and giving yourself some analysis that might lead you in a better direction for you or your organization. So with all of that being said, we are honored to have with us today the Mr. Unpopular Opinion himself, Joshua Copeland. Josh, thank
Hi,
you
everybody.
for joining us. Tell the audience just a little bit about, if they don't know you and they don't know about your unpopular opinions, a little bit about your background and how that even started for you.
I've been doing cybersecurity creeping up on 30 years, thus the long gray beard and the bald head. Did the first 20 of that doing all things DoD. I was active duty Air Force for 20 years. Obviously, that's a interesting environment to cut your teeth in, particularly towards the end of my career. I was doing nuclear weapons cybersecurity, which is a really wild space to be in. Kind of retired from that, went into Fed contracting, did some state level contracting, kind of went all over. I decided I was going to go do a commercial business, and then you know what I haven't done yet? I haven't done a startup yet. So that's where I'm at now. I'm at a startup doing cybersecurity for a great AI firm, kind of the topic of the conversation. I also teach graduate school at Tulane University. Like to keep my feet into the water where all the new folks coming in to keep me on my toes and make sure I actually know what I'm talking about.
That variety of experience, because you have the breadth as well as the wisdom to be able to see across those areas of where it's been, the different sectors and where it's needed. And to get into that startup space, I mean, that makes you perfect for our podcast, as we always talk about that intersection of law, business, and technology. And I think as we get into this topic about AI in particular, businesses really don't understand that all of those things work together, including resilience, including cybersecurity, including AI security, to make any business run, whether it's a law practice, whether it's a consulting business, whether it's a medical practice, it's a business. And there are lots of different little silos that work in there, but the pieces all need to work together. And you can't really just piece off like, oh, we're just going to do AI and maybe an accountant and call it a day. That's not really how businesses work. And so I think that helps kind of bring us into today. Yeah.
It's how businesses work for a very short period of time.
Correct. And that's why, true. And that's why so many, what do they say? Most small businesses don't make it past 5 years, like the first 5 years. Or startups, I should say, because not all startups are small, but most startups don't make it past the 5 years. If you have, you've put in you've put in the different departments for that operational longevity, right? And you put the pieces together of the full puzzle. But yeah, once you start like flinging pieces across the room and they hide under the fridge and under the stove and you're not fully a puzzle anymore, things start to come apart at the seams, and that becomes a much more difficult thing to manage. So in my experience, we'll just say unofficial legal advice, not advice. So you know what, Omar, why don't we jump right into it? What do you think?
I think that makes a heck of a lot of sense. Josh, what got you into the unpopular opinion business? What was it? Yeah. How did that come about?
So, started about 4, almost 5 years ago. I kind of got fed up with the self-licking ice cream cone that was LinkedIn at the time, where everything in cybersecurity is amazing. We're all awesome. Everything's perfect. And that didn't reflect what I was seeing. So I did a series of 3 original unpopular opinion posts. And the first one was, your certifications are trash. And that really rustled some jimmies. I followed that up with, your degree means nothing.
You hit both. You hit both
Oh, yeah.
sides of
1-2
that holy
punch.
war. There you go.
There you go.
And then I followed that up with, your experience isn't what you think it is. So I kind of took out all 3 legs of the stool in one foul swipe.
I'll say the triad has now changed.
Like the only thing that would ever get them to team up, those 3 camps, is someone saying that the 3
Right.
are terrible.
And how was the reception to that?
Yeah.
How was that received?
There were a lot of folks that were real upset with what I was saying. Ironically, they couldn't prove that I was wrong. They were just upset that I said it.
Right.
So
Well, you're not supposed to call the emperor out when he's naked and not wearing any clothes, Josh. Didn't you read the story?
Or no baby's ugly, that kind of thing, right? Where you can't say, right?
I was raised with the, you call it how it is, and, integrity is saying the situation as it is, not how you want it to be.
Of course. And that's I always consider some of my closer friends. All right. I think I always harken back to like the old Italian saying where, your friends will tell you if your face is dirty, and you want those folks to have that critical eye, because you'd rather that than walk into a room where then everyone's just kind of laughing at you. But to your point, Josh, the self-licking ice cream cone of LinkedIn, that's gonna stick with me, because it's all moonbeams and rainbows if you look at it through one lens. And it took me so long to even maybe see the first post ever of, hey, I failed a cert. It was just, everyone was like, oh, I killed it, I did this, I did that. And it's like, wow, these, to your point, wow, these certs must be pretty easy. Like everyone just seems to be knocking them, where, no one posts the hard work, or sometimes where, you stumble. And I mean, going along that route, though, like those were the first 3. It must have obviously then, as much ire as it drew, were you getting DM'd kind of on the side going, thank you, like, bless you for at least saying the real deal? Or
I got a lot of DMs privately saying, thank God you said that.
Yeah.
And it evolved over time where, I just kept following that, my wife calls it my shtick of just saying the things that nobody else wants to say publicly. I'm fortunate because I am retired military. I get some VA benefits as well. I don't need to work. I work because I love the work that I do, and I enjoy, I think most folks in cybersecurity, you're there because you think the work's important.
Mm.
And if you don't think it's important, you don't stay in cybersecurity very long, because, the pay, while in some places is really, really good, it doesn't equal out to the amount of, stress and hours and all the other things that you have to do to stay current in cybersecurity. So for me, it's one of those things where I'm passionate about protecting people. And I think that's what cybersecurity is truly about, is protecting people. And I have the ability to say things that people can't say because they're afraid, their boss will see it, or, the industry at large will see it, and they'll get the big X over their name for don't hire. And I'm perfectly okay being the person who goes, hey, this thing's really, really dumb. Why are we keep doing this dumb thing?
The amount of time that I've seen, even on the Teams channels, right, for work, where it's, we send the meme of, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Sometimes I feel, where it's like, why are we not saying this? This is wild. You're spot on. And I think that was what, that energy, again, like, what I love about your unpopular opinions is truly, it may be your shtick, right? And my wife calls me out for certain things. There's things that, like, if somebody asks me about, she rolls her eyes, because she's like, I could leave the room. He's going to come back in a half hour. He's still going to be going, right? Like, if you ask me about, supply chain risk or MMA, it's over. right? Like I could, but you always do it in a way that's even-handed. I don't get like, I truly don't get internet troll vibes. I don't get like rancor off of it. You're just saying, in a measured way, but in a defensible way, you have, all the bona fides to back it up. Hey, I'm pointing out something that like our industry needs to discuss, which I think is what drew, Alyson and I to really taking a look at it. And of course, the recent one that initiated the conversations of, hey, we want to talk to this guy. We want to get this guy on the podcast was surrounding AI, of course, as many things do now. Do you want to go into exactly like where that one was and what the reaction to the AI unpopular opinion turned out to be?
Yeah. So I like many of the things I do, I kind of point the big sharp stick at the, body of folks in cybersecurity and say, here's the thing I see is wrong. Let's have a conversation. Tell me I'm wrong and explain why you think I'm wrong. And in this one, it's, if you are a business that is using AI as a means to lay people off, you've missed the entire purpose of using AI. Because what you should be doing is taking that AI to do the work that's boring, tedious, that no one wants to actually do, the stuff that's specifically designed for AI, things that are repetitive, things that have a clear-cut process, and let AI do those things. When you free up your folks to, one, monitor the AI to make sure it's doing the thing that you think it's doing, and two, do all the other things that you've been saying for the last 10 years that you're too busy and you don't have enough people to do.
Yeah. That last bit, I think, is where, at least from anecdotally, I'm seeing folks, it's like a put up or shut up moment. Y'all, everyone's been talking about, oh, I'm too busy. I would be doing, painting the Mona Lisa, right? Or painting the Sistine Chapel. If only all that value add work that I could be doing, but all this other stuff is weighing me down. In some cases, in some corners of some orgs, I think there's a bit of fear there. Where it's like, wait a second, like, was I just talking a big game? Do I have it in me to do these, these wild things? Wait a second, these crazy value add things are hard. Of course they are, but probably some of the sentiment that you got back on that post, I would imagine, was like, again, calling people out in as polite a way as I've seen on the internet. I got to say, Josh, and honest to goodness.
Yeah, I got a lot of folks that pushed back. I had some folks that pushed back and said, well, the onus is on the individuals to, learn AI for themselves. I'm like, no, that's absolutely incorrect, because.
And missing the point of your post, but do go on.
And they're like, no, it's those individual people's jobs to do that because they should be making themselves better for their employer. I'm like, no, that's still missed point altogether. But no, you should be carving out time to train people on AI, because the return on investment that you're going to get from that is going to be exponential. And then more importantly, when you train people, they stay. When you give them a clear roadmap, you give them training, you give them a clear path of this is how you succeed here, and you keep your word to that, they want to keep working for you. I can spout all kinds of stats around, the cost to replace somebody is anywhere from 30 to 100% of their base salary for a year. Mm-hmm. And that's when you have to factor in all the HR folks, the reviews, all the people who are doing the panel interviews, the time that you got somebody who's not doing that job. The numbers add up really, really quickly. And then you have the classic thing of, what if I train them and they go somewhere else? What if you don't train them and they stay here? Arguably, that's a worse scenario.
It really is.
So
it's always so short-sighted in that regard, right? And it's, if you train them and you treat them well and, I don't know, pay them market value, they might stay. Unless there's something else they want to do and that growth opportunity is no longer where you're at. I mean, people don't just move just to move, because it's chaotic and you start all over again and it's energy and, things expended. Yeah, I think businesses that have always done the whole why train them, they're just going to leave nonsense are kind of like, to your point, are missing the point. Would you rather have somebody untrained kind of flubbing around and not doing great? I'd rather have them trained for a period of time, move on, make us look good and send us some other people to hire in the future or come back when they have other skills if that's the road that they want to do, and leave that door open for potential growth.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent. You can't poach somebody who's happy and well paid.
You also can't make them cheat in their relationship. It's the same idea. All of it's
Wow.
relationships. It's
This
true.
took a turn, but I agree, but like that's, how do you say something so bold yet so controversial, right? The old
Unpopular
maniac.
opinion day. I feel free
Yeah.
all of a sudden because Josh is here to join me in this.
He's opened the door for the permission there.
But it's true. It's all relationships when you think about it, whether it's a marriage, a sibling, a parent, work. I mean, we spend more time at work than we do with our home, our work wives and husbands and cousins and whatever, the people we see every day.
Hopefully
for
the work
so many
cousins
hours
and the work spouses aren't
not the same.
Yeah, that's my one caveat. I'm gonna say, put my foot
You
down.
know, it's not in my house, but sure.
Put
You know,
my-
I mean, I
no,
do
I'm
happen to
putting
work
my
with my work spouse, but he's not my cousin. He's my
It
husband.
just thank you for shouting that out. You want to just put that disclaimer there, but it's truly one of those things that, my CISO is the type of leader, right? And I know periodically HR comes and asks him, "Hey, what's your secret sauce?" And all he just says is, "I just treat them right, and I back their training." Right? He's straight away, Josh, to your point, and Alyson, to yours as well. As you said, I think at the top of the pod, it'd be an easy thing to cut that training budget and say, "Yeah, cool," right? It'd be an immediate benefit now, but it would start really hurting in 6 months, and it'd be a catastrophe in a year. Where, especially in cyber, if you're not constantly upskilling and you're not then showing that that's leading by example and showing that the organization cares enough to train its people on a consistent basis, why are they going to care enough to then do the extras that they'll do anyway? Right?
Well, and that comes back to, you have to get the right lens. So often, particularly in startup and PE and VC backed organizations, the optic is quarter over quarter growth. And they want to see that hockey stick where it's through the roof. And from an investor standpoint, I totally get it. But from a long-term sustainable growth perspective, that's not sustainable. You're not going to be able to do that indefinitely. And you'll find the organizations who truly succeed for long periods of time focus on retainment, training, and making folks where they feel secure and they can make mistakes. Because if they can't make a mistake, they're not growing, they're not challenging it, and you're not getting any kind of innovation.
Or they're even worse, to your point, right? I'm gonna play, the card that you did just earlier, right? It'd be worse if they stayed and they didn't, and they're not training or not caring. Or you create an environment where they're hiding stuff. And in cyber,
That's even worse.
That's the kiss of death at that point. You don't want to open the proverbial cupboard and have, a bunch of dead chickens to drop on you. I don't know why, but just, I was going to go rubber chickens, but dead chicken seemed a little bit more grisly.
The blood is harder to clean up, so I'll go with the
It
dead
truly
chicken.
is.
But
Honestly,
Well, it depends how long the chickens have been there.
that's very true too.
If they're
true.
If they've been there for like 5 years, that's not too bad. If they've only been there a few
Desiccated
weeks,
Tech debt chickens. I like that. That's going to stay with me, Josh.
debt
Where I'm
chickens.
just going to start thinking.
Now, when
we
you get off, Omar, you're going to ask your AI to draw you a picture of a tech debt chicken so that you can post
and
it.
then definitely not have my kid like walk by as as it's populating the image there. I was
Nightmare fuel, my friend.
Goodness.
She'll
No,
scar that poor kid.
that she's
Holy cow. Yeah.
But why?
So,
But yeah.
go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, Josh, is it really just like the quick buck and the easy go now that makes that other side of the argument so alluring? Or is there an angle I'm not seeing there that is just backing up that entrenchment?
I'm going to go kind of unpopular and go ego. Being the organization that is first to do the thing that's, got the exponential growth, is the founder-led organization, does stroke a lot of egos. That's why you have folks who are serial founders. They find someone with a great idea, they buddy up with them, and they find the next company and then eventually sell that off to a Google or a Microsoft or a CrowdStrike or whatever the case may be, and go start doing their next thing because it strokes the ego. I'm doing this great, wonderful thing, and I'm making so much money doing it.
You're not wrong.
I mean, no, we've all lived with that.
We've
We've all
seen it.
been on the
Right.
exactly seen it and been on the other side of the table from it. Still driving '09 Honda, so I'm not on the serial founder side of it. But is it a matter of now with AI in the mix, the stakes are higher for long term, detriment to our workforce or to, I think even our tech infrastructure?
I think the stakes are higher because, like AI is done with a lot of other things, it has rapidly decreased the timeline to do things. I can go on to Claude and tell it, build me a CRM because I don't want to pay for HubSpot or Salesforce. And it will absolutely build me a functional CRM that I can deploy into my own containerized environment. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't necessarily make sure that it's built what we'll call the best way, because it's programmed to give you the thing that gets the output that you asked for. It doesn't care how messy the middle is. If I gave that to a human programmer, they're going to keep reiterating and fine tuning and getting it to the least number of lines of code with the least number of vulnerabilities, with the least call outs to other things. The stuff when we get from Claude is going to have 12 call outs to a functioning Claude. That's going to make my bill on my cloud go through the roof.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of in and outbound to something outside of my cloud environment.
Exactly.
And then it's, all right, I had this whole SDLC process that was done by an AI, probably was checked by the AI itself saying, yes, I did the full SDLC process, because the person who's vibe coding that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yep.
They know this is what I want, and I got the thing that I asked for, and it works. And that creates a huge aperture for all kinds of vulnerabilities for your data to get leaked out, whether that's in the case of the CRM, all your customers' names, addresses, phone numbers, emails,
card data.
That's, Alyson's our lawyer. Like, every state has some pretty serious privacy laws around that. And, that's, if you are one of those SMBs or a small startup, a privacy breach is a company ending event. If you're an SMB.
Yep. Or a nonprofit or,
Like, if you're an Experian, a Target, a Walmart, yeah, you can absorb that cost. Your stock's in the tank for like 6 months and then it's going to go back up and it's like nothing happened. Exactly. People aren't going to stop shopping at Target.
No.
If you're a startup and you have a major breach, yeah, no one's buying your product. That's just the way it is.
The cost of the trust that you have lost is more than even the cash outlay you're going to have to pay to clean up the mess, if you can even afford to do it. Right? I mean, that's kind of the point, is you're going to close down, because to clean it up and everything else will far exceed whatever budget you might have had available to it. But even if you could do that, depending on your nature of your business, the lost trust to your customers or client base at that point, getting that back is a lot harder than people think. But like you said, Target is Target, but local companies, smaller organizations, it's a very different avenue. And going back to something you both just mentioned a minute ago, I remember, and I can't remember which companies it was, but just earlier this week, when they were talking about, AI is going to take care of everything and the cost of using AI instead of the humans, right, kind of thing. And I'm trying to think of which two companies I saw, which companies have already blown through their budgets for their AI use for the year already. And I can't remember which two I saw in the article, but it was two large organizations who were like, oh yeah, this is going to save us money in the long term. And they've already blown out their AI budget in the first 4 months of 2026. So not quite the pricing they thought, to your point, Josh, which is like, oh, we're going to build the thing. It's going to do all the things, but it's going back and forth. And now your tokens are going up and your use is going up and the cost is going up. And somehow these business models didn't quite plan for the cost of what it would actually cost to run these things. Never mind the fact they're not, we'll say, the most effective all the time, right? Or whatever the case might be. But the cost alone, I don't think was adequately projected, we'll say. Clearly.
And we're kind of in the golden age of AI costs because a lot of the cost for it is underwritten by the AI firms right now because they want you to use it and they want to lock you into the ecosystem.
It's the drug.
Give it a year when the price goes up and we're paying for all of the energy costs that it takes to run this. I live in Northwest Louisiana. AWS just signed a $12 billion to build 3 data centers here over down I-20 for us in Monroe. Meta is building a data center there. I grew up in in the Northeast in central Pennsylvania. 3 Mile Island was just bought by Microsoft.
Yep.
So they bought a nuclear power plant to power their AI.
And they shut down, and it was like it's a bad confluence because I live up here now. It's a bad confluence because they shut down a couple of power plants. I remember they shut down Indian Point, right, local to me. But then right at the cusp of when then, and my energy bill has gone absolutely skyrocketed.
My water bill has already doubled, and we just got notice that our city water bill is going to double again by next year, is what they've already told us. And the electricity's already gone kind of through the roof. Like all of our resources we're finding are hitting different levels. I mean, it's amazing that none of us have gone, wait a minute. We should stop and really examine. Do we need all of this? What are we doing? What is the actual cost? And not just in dollars, but in environmental issues and everything else. We're definitely not in the, it's, what do they say? Just because you can doesn't mean you should. We're definitely in the,
I'm still learning that.
Just doing it.
I still got to figure that out myself, but that's why it's near and dear to my heart, right?
I'm like, at some point, the bill's going to come due. All these VC backers are going to want to return on their investment. If a lot of these AI firms are currently operating at a negative.
Mm-hmm. I kind of lost
balance sheet.
feeding.
So,
yep. Mm-hmm.
And I think Anthropic this week just mentioned the price shifting that they're now going to start. Yeah, I think Anthropic was the first to go, we're going to be.
And kind of to Josh's point where it's then like tiering or staggering the different pricing for different activities. So what Josh was
coding is going to go up higher.
The call outs, right? It's just like, wait a second, it's not going to be included, even though they just signed a deal with, I believe, XAI that initially, at least like a month ago or 6 weeks ago, kind of blew open the caps for usage for a little while. I noticed, my cloud usage was like, wow, I can really go hard in the paint here. But then, but wait. And to Josh's point, bill's going to come due as well when you got to figure that, it is a slower wave, but like legislation, I keep getting now, rolling up to midterms. A lot of people are campaigning, definitely in my area, about these energy prices, right? That when that comes in and somewhat locks in, you have a little bit of a balancing out. The bill's going to come due even more so because right now it's just getting written off. It's a negative externality for a lot of these companies. And to Josh's point, to get folks in, to get them locked in, to build across use every tool. Dreams will come true.
Well, think about it. You become addicted to the use. There's
Absolutely.
been psychological studies to show that our cognitive abilities decline with consistent use without critical thinking being used as part of that use, right?
Yeah.
Taking the outputs and figuring out, is this really what I want, and rewriting and doing that and losing those skills. And so we're dumbing ourselves down and becoming more reliant on something that then is going to go up in price. And then we're going to be in a position of, well, I have no choice but to continue to use the crutch that I've given myself because I believe I can't walk on my own. Like there's a bit of that's going to be going on.
Use the current thing that's going on, the DoorDash analogy.
Yeah.
People don't have time to cook and they don't know how to cook, so they have to DoorDash, but DoorDash is going to cost them, $30 for a single meal.
That's right.
But now you have folks who are, I think they're saying ironically, I hope anyway, that, DoorDash is going to become a basic human right now because they don't have the skills to make their own meals. And I think that's kind of the same thing that we're going down with AI is people are farming so much stuff out to AI platforms, AI tools, that you become locked into it because you don't have the ability to do it. If you fire all your developers and you're letting AI do all of your coding, that's locks you into it. Hiring coders back to fix all of that is going to be exponentially more expensive than keep them on, make sure they're doing it the right way. I think it was a Microsoft executive that said that all white collar jobs are going to be gone in the next 18 months because of AI. I don't think they're 100% wrong. I think there's going to be a lot of redefining what a white collar job is. And a lot of it's going to be folks who are now monitoring AI doing what was typically a white collar job. As a person who teaches at a school, I tell folks, find things that AI isn't good at. That's where your vector should be. Don't go to be a SOC analyst. Tier 1 SOC analyst, that's going to be AI. Within the next 5 years, it'll be 100% AI. Find the things that require humans. And that's kind of the sweet spot that you need to be in right now.
So what are some of those areas that you've seen? So people listening, so we don't get them too dystopian. What are,
people
what
kick
are
off
some of those
riots
rays of light?
after listening to this? Just breaking windows and just going nuts.
It's like there are helpful phone numbers, please call, right? No, in all seriousness. But I mean, I was actually just talking with a neighbor. She has two sons, and one who is in engineering and construction, and the other one who just got his master's also in a different type of engineering. And she was like, I'm really genuinely concerned about what the boys are going to be doing for work. And so we were talking about AI, and for the one that is very hands-on and still building things, like I physically go and put the pieces together. I'm like, yeah, he's going to be a bit more insulated because AI at this point is not going to go build my house. And so I'm wondering if there'll be a bit more shift into some of those skilled trades that we have lost over the years, like trying to find a really good contractor, trying to find a really good electrician, plumber, like some of the mechanics. It's harder to find people in those skilled areas. I mean, I don't know that we're really teaching them in schools, kind of to your point of the DoorDash. I mean, do we even have home ec anymore in a lot of our schools? I can tell you, my son didn't get that opportunity. I know I took that in middle school and learned how to cook basic things for myself because my parents didn't teach me that. But I made sure to teach that to my kid. But I don't know that a lot of these hands-on skills are being kind of put through the education system anymore. So a lot more trades, I think, are going to be needed. Other than basic, I don't say basic trades. I don't mean to make that sound basic. Sorry. But other than
another place where people are going to riot, Alyson. Just people are going to break windows.
See, unlike Josh, I always watch what I have to say, right? I'm like, they're going to be like, the lawyer said it. I'm like, there's always that problem. So I'm always filtering, and it drives Omar nuts, but it's.
What do you mean? I just chuckle because I figured out when you're like, nope, can't say that. And I just smile. I'm just like, yep, she's.
Because you know me well enough, when I'm offline, I'm a little less censored. But that being said, I mean, where are some of the areas you're seeing, Josh, that would help people try to help figure out those areas where there might be growth opportunities to go beyond the things that AI is going to do for us?
So I think I kind of already hinted at it. Anything that requires, human ingenuity. So I definitely see, red teaming still being a heavily human thing. I could automate a lot of great stuff with AI for red teaming. I can also tell you that I've seen environments where they have an AI tool that's doing red teaming, and it's been active there for, 6+ months. And a random person from a, country in South America or Africa sends in a detailed threat report of responsible disclosure saying, here's how I got into your system. And that system was routinely being monitored and pen tested against via AI. And that human went, well, what if I try this thing that was kind of weird and no one ever thought to do? So I'm seeing those kind of things. Anything that requires judgment. So AI is really good at taking things like, your NIST 853 or your CMMC, dump that in and say, give me a list of things I need to do for my environment. But there are other things that you need to kind of go, well, does that make sense for my environment? What's my risk profile? What's the risk to my business? The risk to a startup versus the risk to a Fortune 100 company that largely is a FedGov contractor. They're not the same.
Not at all.
But largely AI is going to treat them of you follow the best practice, you follow the standard, you follow whatever your framework says. And maybe that's not the right call. I can tell you that the DISA-STIG, the Security Implementation Guide for Linux machines, will tell you that you need to absolutely disable LDAP on a Linux machine. And if you have just a single Linux machine, that makes sense. If you're managing your entire Linux environment using a tool like Ansible, okay, that makes sense. If you're using, Microsoft Entra or Active Directory as your single source, as your SSO, that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I want that enabled because the risk of having it enabled is less because the overarching identity management control is better by having a single source of identity rather than me going to each Linux box and putting in a list of users and updating that manually, or, updating a single instance in Ansible and Ansible going out and updating all my Linux boxes that may or may not take effect. Mm-hmm. That's kind of one thing that requires human reasoning, human experience to go, this is what the right answer is in my context. So, things like GRC are still going to be hugely responsible. And as a lawyer, I'm sure you'll agree with me, AI won't testify for you in court. It won't do your jail time and won't pay your fine.
Nope.
So anything that requires somebody to be responsible for it, you probably should know what you're doing, know what you're signing up for, and know what the AI is doing, and have enough depth and breadth to make good, defensible decisions around that.
That's exactly it. It's the responsibility, it's the accountability, and it's the judgment. I mean, I've been following kind of the line of cases where people are using AI and trying to do it pro se without legal knowledge and experience and judgment. And they're trying to use ChatGPT for their lawyer. And of course, the Nippon case with ChatGPT from, I guess it was like 2023, they're being sued for unlicensed practice of law because of the way the language was coming out. And I don't know if you saw this case, but a woman had settled a case, a significant case. They had reached a settlement with an insurance company. She went to ChatGPT several years ago, back before there were the guardrails that are in today, which are still forming as we speak. But even back then, it was a little bit more fluid, we'll say, and a little less trained. And said, I think my lawyer is gaslighting me. And it went, oh, yes, it is. And literally told her, this is what you need to do to undo that settlement agreement, and started to give actual legal advice that wasn't accurate and there was no judgment to it, to where she filed all these federal motions and a new trial and about 40 motions within a year, which is a highly litigious year. That's not normal within timelines and practice or within judgment.
She put up some numbers.
And at the end of the day, it cost that insurance carrier several $100,000 just to deal with the nonsense that was being spewed with hallucinated citation and the whole 9 yards. And she did not get very far in it, but now they're suing ChatGPT for unlicensed practice of law, which in Florida is a felony. Granted, this is not in Florida, right? But I suspect other states have similar types of laws because it's to prevent others. Now, whether that relates to a computer system or the people who programmed that particular tool, right, to operate in that particular way, and not have guardrails in place back then. And I think whether or not they're going to be responsible for ultimately the result of that action of her taking it. And I think it'll run probably parallel, ironically enough, or not ironically, but sadly, to those cases where the families are saying, hey, this AI convinced my loved one to unalive themselves. And those types of cases of like, well, how far and how do we hold that accountability and that type of thing, where I think we can all agree that if someone is coming to AI with those kinds of discussions, the answer should probably be, here's the emergency hotline number and go call a therapist, not let me tell you how to tie the noose, which was literally one of the cases for a teenage boy. So I kind of digress a little bit, but it goes back to that judgment and that responsibility. And as people are looking, especially in law, to say, oh yeah, AI can do it for me. It doesn't have that judgment. It doesn't know the judges. It doesn't know opposing counsel. It doesn't know the insurance company. It doesn't know the other parties. It doesn't know the history of case law and things that have evolved in your particular area to be able to assess what is accurate and what is not. And if you're not a trained practitioner in that area or in medicine or in cybersecurity, relying on the tool to give you the answers without the ability to critically question or challenge the information coming out or even validate it, that's going to be a lot of the cleanup. So same thing on the coding side you had mentioned, Josh, earlier. I have a friend who his whole company is basically cleaning up your code because anybody can go in and say, oh, make me a thing, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be made securely, efficiently, right, streamlined in that area, or even will operate with after a certain number of uses because of the way that the wires cross because nobody went in and cleaned it up. So he's got a whole business model built on that of let me unmess up your code that you used, that you vibe coded without knowing what you're doing. So
And there are cases where somebody was trying to get some efficiencies with a applicant tracking system, and they fed in a bunch of, this is what a resume of someone who's been successful in this role. They opened the job up. They got like 1,000 applications. They let AI determine what that final count was, and it gave them the top 100 resumes. And when they got the resumes back, they noticed something kind of weird. Even though they had a 20% submittal of women for the role, 0 women showed up in that top 100%.
shocking.
Now they caught it there and went, that's weird, because they would expect that, at least 10% should have been women at a minimum. But when they kind of went back and peeled back the layers of what the AI was doing, the AI did exactly what it was supposed to do. The resumes that it got as this is what good is, were all men.
Right.
So AI went, if every resume of what good is a man, therefore only men are good at this, and I can cut 20% of the people out with one foul swoop.
Yeah.
And it did exactly what you told it to do. You just had really bad training data, and you didn't put guardrails in to say, ignore names and genders in the material
And age.
because you didn't think about it.
And even the guardrails are put in there. Like, this is one of the more eye-opening things for me. I'm in this space, training up for the AIGP. Right? Shout out to Dr. David Privacy there. I'm not a paid sponsor, but if you want to be, bro, just reach. But it was one of those things where, so he's very, like European zone heavy with the laws and whatnot. But even if they go that step, Josh, and they say, hey, ignore age, ignore gender, ignore names, there's still some thinking to be done whether there's discrimination or bias that can get introduced by a proxy variable. So then do we have to maybe ignore zip code? Do we have to ignore? And this is one of those
Ignore
things
the university in which the degree was granted from.
Bingo, right? That's another one. There's a ton of these cases, which is folks would then go, oh, that's edge stuff. No, it's not. It's a symptom of business processes that, as many of them do, they kind of emerged ad hoc and they sort of work for most cases. So we ran with them, and then they suddenly become ossified as this is how we do things. And what AI then does is it just does the dumb stuff faster.
That's
and it just
exactly
makes the dumb.
The discriminatory stuff happens at a much quicker rate.
It's efficiently discriminatory.
Stupid at speed.
It's stupid at speed, big time. And that's exposing a lot of, like, that's why, say, for any like rip and replace of a vendor, or you're trying to bring in a different technology and you're going, the vendor can tell you all the sweet things it can do, and the demo can go amazing, but the devil is always going to be in the integration details. It's going to be, well, okay, what's hooked into this? Do we even know? Has anybody on the RFP team been here long enough to know where those dead chickens of technical debt are living? Do we know? And it's just, you'll get stymied by things, and AI is just putting all like a rocket ship on this. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. It's training on the behavior we already had and producing quicker results and really exposing those things. And so now it's whether or not we as a society choose differently and make concerted efforts to ensure that those types of disparate treatment are not continuing to happen.
It's too hard. That's what I see a lot of people throwing their hands up, right? And then to y'all's point, I think collectively, where does liability fall for that type of decision making? I think we haven't figured it out yet, but yet we're playing in realms and with toys that have very real effects, but no one's figured out exactly, okay, who's going to be on the hook if this goes sideways.
The analogy I use is the butcher is always responsible for the content of the sausage. He might not have been the one that ran the machine.
Sure.
He might not put each part in.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the person who said, this is what we're doing,
Mhm.
this is the tool we're using to do it, they're going to be the ones that are ultimately responsible. Hopefully, that person knows what they're doing.
And wash their hands.
Fortunately, we have a lot of folks who go, I have a cow or I have a pig and I want sausage. AI, make this happen.
Suddenly you're getting kangaroo. And you're like, this tastes a little gamey. And you're going, what's going on?
Or you're getting things like you're getting nitrites in it and
Sure.
you're getting all kinds of preservatives that you didn't think were going to be in there because you said, I just want sausage.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, ultimately where, again, and that sort of non-assumption of responsibility or liability being done at scale, being done at speeds with which then, if governance was hard before this, that's what I'm
You
seeing
can't
a
get
lot.
the
And
toothpaste back in the tube.
it's so, like, it just becomes a shooting match at that point of like, who can point AI at a problem thing first and faster to maybe make sure that we're not running headlong into an iceberg of litigation or patient harm or human safety issues or bias or discrimination.
Like,
I don't know.
to be fair, we're bad enough at cybersecurity on our own,
When it's slow.
let alone escalating how quickly we're bad at cybersecurity.
It just seems like war games. I see Matthew Broderick in the corner, looking, very, very young for his age, surprisingly still. But I just think of, when it's done at this scale, when it's done at this speed, and we're looking at orders of magnitude faster than it was back then. And even that, I remember the movie, right? It was a very pivotal moment for me. I was just like, this is so fast. This is crazy. And it was just chess, right? At that point. Josh,
Well,
I
Omar,
mean,
I
as
know
we
you have a hard stop, so I wanted to
sure.
make sure,
Yep.
what other things before we kind of wrap up this particular episode, Josh, that you would like to share or final thoughts that you have that would be good for the audience to understand?
I think the big thing is AI is neither good nor bad. AI is a tool like any other tool. It's how do you design it? How do you implement it? And what is the purpose that you're giving it? And that's going to drive your outcomes. Use it wisely. Don't abuse it. Say please and thank you. So when, Skynet happens, you're one of the good ones.
Yeah. All right.
And kind of be smart about it. It's not a replacement for humans. It's a augmentation to make humans better at what they do.
And we should use it
If it's done right.
as that. Right. If it's done, I was going to say, and knowing what's in the sausage, to your point, we don't all want food poisoning from this thing. So
wise words, and I can tell, this is probably one of the best compliments I can pay, Josh. Folks that get to learn from you in your academic roles are privileged here, because I can just tell your demeanor and the way you're delivering it and the takes you have. It seems you're doing the right things, and I appreciate. And they're lucky to have a teacher with your experience and knowledge there, man. But thanks for coming on. I hope to do it again. Keep firing off those unpopular opinions, and I'm positive Alyson or myself are going to be like, yes, latch on to another, and we need to dive into this one. I appreciate the time. And as I say to all of our friends, all of our listeners here, use AI correctly, but in the meantime, keep it cyber metal. Take care, everybody.